Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Legion of Gloom. We are back with an episode focusing on the early days of NXT with an emphasis on what everyone from the first 2 episodes has done since. If you want to get in contact with us, you can follow us on at LOG Podcast on Twitter, at Legion of Gloom Podcast on Facebook, and find us on YouTube. But for now, let's get straight into the episode. NXT, the early days. Full sail away. So, NXT, we're about 6 years removed from Florida Championship Wrestling, changing into NXT. And WWE always had its own developmental territories, which is arguably one of the reasons that they were so successful in creating new stars. WCW they tried it with a power plant, but didn't get very far. Do you have any favourites from the power plant that you remember?
Oh, well, Goldberg.
Oh, well, Goldberg's the big one, obviously.
What about Sean Stasiak? Did he come through that?
I'm pretty sure they spent some time there, at least.
And don't forget Billy Gunn's boyfriend.
Chuck Palumbo.
Chuck Palumbo
As well. My big memory of the power plant is on the Louis Theroux show, where they showed inside and you see all the guys, Elix Skipper working out and stuff, and then the Sarge overworking Louis Theroux. But the best bit, and that's where they're doing all their promos in front of the camera. But I think we're planning to talk about that.
I think we should do a full episode of this,
because
Patrick.
I really want to get into that, and we'll pester Louis Theroux and try and be on it. Do a watch party with him. But WWE always had something going on developmentally as well.
Yeah.
Before OVW even, you had the Funkin' Dojo.
Okay.
Where guys used to go. Agent Christian came through it. Test.
Yeah.
Val Venus. Kurt Angle. People like Mark Henry went there when they had to lose weight. And learn a bit more about the ring. I think the Big Show was down there for a while when he signed as well.
Yeah. Would the wrestlers be sent there as like punishment?
I'm not sure if it was punishment or just like, right, you really need to lose weight at this stage. So get down there and train with somebody that knows. Big Show was probably down there every week. But I think he went for lipo-6 and then up. It was easier. Most famously, probably the OVW class that had John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Shelton Benjamin,
and Brock Lesnar. Yeah.
And they talk about those people, and that's really an undeniable class of talent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, OVW after that still had people come through like the Miz. CM Punk was there for a while. The whole Spirit Squad.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler obviously. Eminem went through.
Yeah.
The list of that OVW is shocking. Like if you look at their alumni page online, it reads like a who's who of the past.
Yeah. How many great stars have
10
come
years.
through? And I think didn't Paul Heyman have a hand in OVW as well?
Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette definitely was.
Yeah.
He was one of the, and I think that's one of the reasons that it ended up closing and they end up and moving into Florida Championship Wrestling because he was so hard to work with. But he really went for like an old school really old school style of storylines as well. Like he loved that Smoky Mountain obviously where he was really big into, and he brought that into OVW, and he had like the real heel managers and really old school type storylines and finishes and stuff, which a great way to learn. Might not translate to the main roster, but something worked there because that's some of the greatest talents of the past ages that you could really consider.
That's such an impressive list, Patrick. I'm glad that you give us a little rundown of that, because I'm actually shocked at how many great wrestlers have come through.
It's true, but
because you only hear about the class of Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista. Like we didn't have much access to OVW unless you're buying sort of the indie magazines, which are kind of hard to get here as well at times. And the only footage I seen until recent years of OVW would have been like in the documentaries about Randy Orton's career, and you would see tag team matches and stuff from OVW. So that's really impressive.
The good thing about it was that even though they left OVW behind, they merged everything in the Florida Championship Wrestling. They started to base everything out of Florida. And I remember when this happened, just the buzz that started swelling out of Florida Championship Wrestling, and you were hearing about all these guys having these amazing matches in Florida Championship Wrestling, along with legends as well. The main thing I remember coming out of Florida Championship Wrestling was Dean Ambrose, who I'd never heard of before, admittedly. I know he was Combat Zone Wrestling and stuff before, I didn't know. And I heard about this guy, Dean Ambrose, who's done in Florida Championship Wrestling, and he's in a feud with William Regal.
Yeah.
And I went on and I downloaded from an unofficial source, let's say, their whole feud. And it was amazing. It was so like ahead of its time. And you looked at Dean Ambrose then, who was nobody at the time, and you're going, he's good. Like he's gonna be something. Like.
Yeah, a star in the making.
And they were letting people have great matches there. It was like Seth Rollins and Chris Hero, as I say, and you can watch some of those matches are on the network and the Hidden Gems collection and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're really worth taking a look at. But you sort of felt like there was like an upswell and that the indie guys were starting to actually be taken seriously, and you were just hoping, right, are you actually going to let them do it now on the main roster, or at least on their own show or something. And as we'll see with NXT, they kind of did get a chance. But did you ever hear any of the buzz from Florida Championship Wrestling when it was still going?
To be honest, Patrick, not really. I have to put my hands up. I don't know very much about FCW at all. And as I said, it's kind of like you see, especially like these first episodes of NXT, which we're going to get into in a minute. Like you see some footage from FCW then, and I remember that was kind of my first exposure to some of this stuff.
I always remember seeing the matches from FCW, and they always had it in that ring, and it was always surrounded by like the pay-per-view posters.
Yeah,
the
dodgy posters.
I just remember how often did they change them? Some guy have to get up every week and put up, like, take the down the oldest one and put up the newest one or whatever. But it's like, it's weird when you see now footage from that of like guys like Seth Rollins, as you say, wrestling in front of a giant poster of John Cena.
Yeah.
Who
Sheamus' big face hanging over the top of him.
Some really ugly pay-per-view posters at the time as well.
No. You always see that, a really nice one though, I think it's from Survivor Series, and it's Edge holding a big chainsaw.
Oh, that's great. That one, I'm not sure what event that, you might be right. That's a cool poster.
That's front and centre.
And there was like an Armageddon one, Chris Jericho with a button as well, the Doomsday button. I love that one too.
So cheesy, but like that Sheamus, that white poster with a ginger mustache and the hair, and for Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules, that's what it was, because I have it on
DVD
there somewhere.
It haunts my nightmares.
But so what happened next is they decide, right, okay, we're going to move everything.
Yeah.
Keep it within Florida, move it to Full Sail University. They're going to become more hands-on. It's going to turn into a real production. They're going to start taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
Using an in-house production studio and stuff. I think it's part of a university where even students get to take part in the production, but it's a really professional setup there. They changed the name over to NXT, which obviously they've already been using for the game show style NXT show. The format that we were sort of used to was Raw, SmackDown, Superstars main event, shows like that. So you thought when they introduced this
Velocity,
NXT Velocity, shows like, what was it back in the day, Metal Jacked. So you thought when they introduced this, you're going, okay, is it going to be like, personally, I hadn't seen a lot of these early episodes of NXT. We're going to talk specifically about the first episodes when they changed over to the new format.
Yeah, they kind of rebranding
the
from
weekly
the game
show, the rebranding one when the game show ended and they started to become a weekly wrestling show. But as I say, I didn't see a lot of these. I'm watching these for the first time now, and it was because I was so burnt out on the other NXT. The game show one. Like, what did you think of that?
I have to totally agree with you, Patrick. I kind of jumped on board with the rebranding of NXT, and I kind of watched for a couple of weeks. I think I watched up until Seth Rollins captured the first NXT championship, and I kind of just drifted away. I was so conditioned just to thinking NXT was essentially the C show, and I didn't take it very serious.
It was a while before the word started to get out, and you started to realise that it's not a game show, it's genuinely more of a wrestling show. It's not WWE rookies doing blind date and obstacle courses and shit like that. Although, if they did a WWE show with Crystal Maze, I'd probably watch it. But this is completely different. Like, this is all staged. Like, even like, if you remember the really famous Newlyweds game that Daniel Bryan and Derek Bateman did, where they fixed it.
Okay.
And apparently they were really annoyed at them for fixing it because it was all supposed to be planned out. They weren't supposed to do their own answers and stuff. Like, it was just like the first NXT was a bit like, okay, this is alright, and it gave you the Nexus and the end up. So they had something to fight for. But I think like season 4 and 5 that they were supposed to win a title shot and they didn't get them for like a year after, and stuff like that. So that really it meant nothing, and it was just such a.
Well, who were the winners of NXT? So the first time was Wade Barrett,
right?
And he obviously led the Nexus.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of success.
He did alright. And he brought like the whole season with him.
Yeah.
So that was alright.
That's what I mean, yeah. And you also got Daniel Bryan. And I like Patrick, I know I don't want to divert the conversation, but I watched recently the first episode of the game show NXT.
Yeah. And
it all kicks off with The Miz and Daniel Bryan, and it's absolutely fantastic.
That's right. And we've come how far now? What? 6 years did we say?
Yeah.
Not longer for that season. So
yeah, longer.
How many years is that now? And they're about to probably fight at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
They're throwing babies at each other on TV.
Yeah. It's going that way, and I hope some of that footage, like the opening promo of the very first game show NXT between Daniel Bryan and The Miz, is brilliant, and it's all really good stuff for a proper feud. Like, it's The Miz is saying like you need a good catchphrase and you have no charisma and all this, and you see how much Daniel Bryan has changed into a WWE performer as well.
Definitely.
Season 2, who won that?
Was it Low Key?
It was.
Was it? It was?
It was.
Caval.
Caval, he had a different
The
name.
Mortal Kombat name.
And he got paired up with the Bellet ones or something.
Michelle McCool and
Oh,
Layla.
yeah, like cool.
They cool. They were fighting over him, weren't they?
They
or
were.
trying to turn him into not such a geek.
Yeah.
All I
terrible.
remember was it Dolph Ziggler? He did a big spin kick and like, smashed somebody's nose over their face.
He didn't last long.
But so as I said, we're specifically going to go on the first 2 episodes at least. Maybe we'll touch on 3 and 4, but specifically the first 2 episodes of NXT when it changed into the new format.
Yeah.
So these were from June 2012,
Mm-hmm.
which is just over 6 years now.
Yeah.
And probably going to look at more what everyone's done since.
Mm-hmm.
If it's been a success.
Yeah.
It's a great TV show, but is it really helping in the long run? We'll maybe do like a bit of an NXT State of the Union type thing at the end if we remember.
So we're not essentially analysing the product or the matches as such, but we're going to have a look at the superstars. And
No, it's not going to be a play-by-play, but it's going to be a retrospective of the guys involved, hopefully. And there's a lot of people in these first few episodes that you'll be really familiar with, I would say.
Welcome to the all-new NXT, emanating from Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida. New opportunities lie ahead for these young, dominant superstars who are ready to push the envelope of aggression and athleticism.
We'll get into the show. It's hyped from the start as one of those really epic voiceovers. And it's like the story of those with the audacity and the ability to stand on the threshold of greatness. All those big words that I've thrown at you. And you look back and you can't really deny that that's not what the show was about, but the video package at the start's really good, I think.
Yeah, it is
and
brilliant.
hyping it.
It is. And it also describes that in every generation there's superstars that capture our imagination and earn our admiration and stuff. And as you said, they roll out the Rolls Royce of the WWE, like Hogan, dare I say his name, Bret Hart, Triple H, Rey Mysterio. The order of the superstars is really weird in this. Undertaker, Rock, Austin, Cena, Andre, HBK. And they set very clear that these NXT superstars, this is their goal, to be as big as the likes of Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the greatest of all time.
To be the legends of the future. It is a show, like as you say, it shows every big legend that you can imagine. And in between, I don't know if you noticed, but it shows you there's those clips that they have of like the cutaways, the B-roll.
Yeah.
And one of the clips is like some really skinny guy getting chokeslammed by Kane.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And he absolutely chokeslams the shite out of him. And I was just sitting thinking, I hope they didn't have to do that over and over again because his back would be broke. It looks stiff as fuck.
It's a nice wee shot. The wee dusty ring.
It's class.
You see all the dust going everywhere.
But they show short clips of the main talent. They show Seth Rollins, Cesaro and a few. And they call it the gateway of the future. And it begins now. And it goes straight into the theme tune.
Yeah.
The Coheed and Cambria.
Lethal, I had to say I love this theme song. And like I was rewatching this and I was like, this is definitely off Triple H's iPod. What is going on? NXT is so much like heavy metal and new wave metal and stuff. I really like this theme. It's my favourite NXT theme.
It reminds me of Rock Band before anything else.
Oh, does it?
I remember playing it in Rock Band, and I've always liked the music, but not the vocals. I really hate the singing.
I have to agree.
I wish it was an instrumental, and I could actually probably listen to it. No offense to any Coheed and Cambria fans out there, but if you are, you're probably not listening to this anyway. So it's something I don't think you would hear on the main roster. That song now, even now, 6 years later, but it's something that NXT has done well since, and they've retained to this day, where the theme songs for the takeovers is always like an alternative rock song or a punk band or something that you may not have heard, but it sort of gives you that feeling of NXT.
I think it's part of NXT's identity, and it's something that probably appeals to the niche market who are the NXT fans.
Who's in the intro? How about this for a list? I've got them all written here.
Okay.
So this is just in the intro of the first episode. Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Leo Kruger before he found lollipops, Tyler Breeze before he found high fashion, Derek Bateman before he found the gym, Jinder Mahal, Richie Steamboat, Johnny Curtis, Big E, Bo Dallas, Xavier Woods, the original Ascension, Paige, Bray Wyatt, Summer Rae, and Corey Graves.
Yeah. Good
all names, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe is there any one person there or one thing that stands out to you, for good or for bad?
The original Ascension.
The original Ascension. Any particular reason, or will we get into it when we talk about that?
I think we'll get on it. I've got a wee rant on these boys.
Because for me, it's Richie Steamboat, but again, we'll talk about that in a minute too.
So then the show opens, Patrick, and for me, it was one of my first exposure to like, okay, here's the first show I'm going to watch in front of a small audience. Well, kind of similar to maybe the TNA. Maybe the TNA was a bit of an inspiration for WWE. they emanated from where? Universal Studios.
Universal Studios.
In a small studio as well. And it was different. I have to say it was different. But we said that and it's all about the stars of the future and rolling out these new developmental talent and all this. And who's the first music it hits?
JR?
Good old JR. Roll out the old boy straight away. I love JR. He comes out and he introduces the new interim GM for NXT.
The American Dream.
The American Dream and all around, boy.
Hard times, Michael.
Dusty Rhodes.
Hard times is when you show up to NXT and you do your drunk uncle dance. Hard times is when you record a podcast for 3 people.
So Patrick, I have a important question to ask.
Right.
Which is your favourite theme song? JR's or Dusty Rhodes?
Ooh, JR's is an easy one, but if you put a cowbell in it, put the cowbell from Dusty Rhodes song in the JR song, you've got the theme tune of all theme tunes.
Hybrid.
I think if I was on that Oklahoma football team, and that was my entry song to the pitch, I would destroy somebody after hearing that.
I think I would too.
I think that would pump me up something serious.
Back God almighty.
Dusty Rhodes, as you say, is the GM, and he comes out and he says his typical sort of slurred jive talk that he did, sounding like a drunk uncle, as I say. He hopes nobody crosses him, and he says something like, "Oh man, it's gonna be nuts when we come through here." And I do love Dusty Rhodes. He always seemed like he didn't know what he was going to say, but whatever he did say was always decent.
He does. He seems like he's just doing things on the fly. He's like, but we went on, we learned like so many of these superstars, like they call them, they're all Dusty Rhodes kids. So I can only imagine how much he did behind the scenes for NXT. We
know how vital he was now. In retrospect, he wasn't just the on-screen general manager. He was one of the head writers and creative directors of NXT as well.
And we got to look into that as well with the WWE Network series Breaking Ground. And it's nice. It's nice to go back to now that some of these, like Dusty Rhodes is gone. I rewatched Breaking Ground recently, and you see him in these meetings and stuff, and like he definitely is instrumental in a lot of people's careers. So many of the NXT talent that have made it through, especially the Sasha Bankses and stuff, seem to really, really look up to Dusty Rhodes. And what I liked about this was eventually they even worked this into a storyline on Raw. Do you remember? It was like the Authority against Goldust and Cody Rhodes. They would do this with NXT every now and then where it popped up on Raw suddenly out of the blue. I think they did it before the really famous Fatal 4-Way, Sami Zayn, Tyson Kidd, Neville and Tyler Breeze. Yeah. And they had a tag team match on Raw the week before that takeover. Yeah, that's right. But this was another time where they did that, and the Authority was against the Rhodes Brothers, as I say, and there was a match where Dusty Rhodes was going to be removed as GM if they lost, and he got to throw out some last few atomic elbows. I think that was one of his last appearances on the main roster. Yeah. Do you have any memories of him in particular as the GM, or do you think he was the best pick, or was there anybody else at the time that you might have slotted in there? Well, I know we all know that Regal went on to be the GM, and he's been probably one of the longest standing GMs in WWE. Probably. He must be. He must be at this stage. So I think Regal probably, but was Regal still an active wrestler? He was, because I think he had his storyline after this again. But that could be me hindsight 2020, of course. You can say what you want about Dusty Rhodes' early 90s WWF run, whether you think it was a joke at his expense or a burial or whatever word you want to use. But the thing I like about him in NXT was it was kind of like a fitting tribute to him, the man he was behind the scenes, supposedly. I don't know him. Yeah. But going off what everybody else says. I do like that they brought out the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and that they've kept it going, and I do hope it goes forward because I love tournaments. Yeah. And it's nice to have that I love weird trophies as well. I was going to talk about it for FCW earlier, where they had like a crown and a medal as their championships instead of belts, but I love that this one's just a big boot. Yeah. But no one's drank out of it yet. Yeah, it hasn't been destroyed either. No, not yet. Maybe when it's dedicated to the memory of someone, you can't break it. Yeah. Although, was the Andre trophy broke? I think it was. A couple times.
Coming up next on NXT, the debut of the exciting, resilient, ultra-talented new superstar, Bo Dallas.
So, being that it's the first couple of episodes, it's sort of an establishing episode a bit, and there's a lot of video packages. Yeah. And the first one you see here is for Bo Dallas.
Bo Dallas. I really like that they introduce the characters like this, Patrick.
It's good in terms of before they come out through the curtain, you've got an idea what their character is and who they are, but I cannot explain to you how much I hate this version of Bo Dallas. he sit there with his like straight, super straight long hair, like Kim Kardashian now type hair, and he's just smiling all the time. Just loves smiling, and that sort of at the minute is his gimmick. Like at this time, I mean, that's just pretty much all his gimmick is. He's just a happy, smiling guy until the bell rings. You don't want to get him angry, but he says here in the interview, he says, "I got a smile that shines for miles. I got a fist that breaks bricks," and you're thinking,
Patrick,
fist can't break. You would damage someone's skull if your fist could break bricks. Oh, it's not happening.
well, the things that he says, like what as you said, a smile that goes, what did he say? A smile that shines for miles, and fist that breaks bricks, and a chin that won't give in. And it sounds like a fucking Tinder profile.
Oh, maybe it was his Tinder profile.
Because then when he gets in the ring, the first thing JR says, he is young, he is single. What is going on, Bo Dallas? But he's a lying bastard in this as well, because he says things like, knock me down, I'll get back up, and keep punching me and you'll bust your knuckles and all. Bo Dallas, you've been losing since you come to the main roster for the last fucking 6 years.
It's just one of those things that I like to think that they had this all planned out where, alright, if we make him completely sickening, then he can turn heel and we can say it was the plan all along.
Yeah.
But I really do think that they thought this was going to be him. He was going to be the smiling champion guy.
Yeah.
But it's so cheesy. And he's in the first match here.
Yeah.
What did you think of the video overall? You liked it sort of as an establishing?
I like it as an establishing. I mean, I wasn't really under the character, and as I said, it's pretty cheesy. But I liked that they did this. I liked that they introduced pretty much as we go on to the episode. They introduced all the characters this way.
And I don't know, like I sort of like to think that they gave him that name as a joke as well.
Yeah.
And because like when he comes out, he's got letters that spell B-O.
Yeah.
Behind him as he comes to the ring. And I really hope that that's on purpose because he smells.
Yeah.
And no one's told him. They sort of, during this match, I don't know, so he's up against Rick Victor, who, as you might imagine from the name, goes on to be the Victor from the new Ascension.
Yeah.
And they mentioned during the match that Victor came through the Heart Dungeon.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, you did.
And I don't know if they've ever mentioned it on TV and on WWE TV now. And if they have, they haven't done it enough. Because that's kind of an important thing to mention.
We haven't mentioned this. Regal and JR on commentary. Good commentary team.
Mm-hmm. They did a good job here.
Did a really good job, and they give a nice overview of the characters as well. But Regal states that Victor was the last graduate, I think, of the Stu Hart Dungeon system. And I think that's really important.
It is. It's something that, like, if I would still be shouting it from the rooftops on commentary now. Maybe they've been told not to mention it because his character's so wacky now and they don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, I mean, and of course it was Bruce Hart probably, or one of the other Keith Hart or Johnny Hart or whatever other Harts they have. It wasn't Brett, but it still counts.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
It definitely does. But I mean, I have to say as well, the commentary, they sort of put over that they have high expectations of both superstars. You kind of know Bo's going to go over because he's got the big package and he's got the entrance. And Victor's just standing in the ring in his wee purple velvety trousers.
And what did you think, like, now that you're talking about him winning, like, it was pretty much a squash match. What did you think of the match itself, and in particular his finish?
He hits a spear, doesn't he, for the one?
A spear that I like to call the low-impact spear.
Yeah.
He's got no real sort of head of steam, and it's not the best spear we've ever seen, let's put it that way.
It's not the best spear we've ever seen, but I think there's a really high angle as well, and it's important to mention that it was university students at the stadium who are operating the cameras and doing all the production work, and like I think that plays a factor as well. The camera techniques are a little bit different from what we see on the main roster, especially here in early NXT. So I've noticed that maybe a lot of moves look less impactful overall. So maybe it's not so much Bo's fault.
Maybe it's not on him.
Yeah.
You're right. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. First match and all these jitters, you know.
But I'll tell you what I won't give him the benefit of the doubt for. He does get in a lot of punches, and you know what's funny? He doesn't break a man's skull open.
He doesn't.
So maybe if I was a brick, I wouldn't be scared. Let's put it that way. But afterwards, JR, as you say, he mentions, he's got a beautiful smile. He's still talking about a smile. And he's single. It's JR. I don't know why he cares so much. But in case you haven't heard enough about it, he does a promo afterwards as well about the smile.
Yeah.
It would have been great as if he had got his teeth knocked out in the first match and had to change his whole gimmick. But he ends the promo with "You will know, Bo," which was the start of him working his name, and they absolutely everything.
But as I said, like I think they had high expectations for Bo. After this, I think he appeared in the Royal Rumble the following year, 2013 Royal Rumble, as a surprise entrant. I think
he did. Yeah, I think he won. He won the right to be in it too, and he appeared on the Raw after the Royal Rumble as well. So he was like the first of the NXT class to appear, to make the jump up
Yeah.
as a surprise. So they definitely had hopes for him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he won the NXT title from Big E as well. So
That's right.
they obviously thought there's something on him.
Yeah. I think they both fell into a role that, befits a mid-card wrestler. But, and since we know him now, he's been in the Miz-Trage the last couple of years. He's actually the current, as of this recording, he's the current Raw Tag Team Champion with Curtis Axel.
Well, we go over kind of what he's done since. He's kind of, like when he came to Raw, he came on with like a motivational gimmick type thing.
Yeah.
And he went on like a winning streak. And he was like 12 and bow,
Yeah.
13 and bow, and whatever, which is so bad it was good. I think one of the most memorable of his early things was, you remember Brock Lesnar beat the absolute shit out of him on Raw?
Oh, yeah.
As well. I think then he sort of fell into like comedy mid-carder type status. Even the Social Outcast was soon after this, and that was just a polite job squad for 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And he did get to reinvent himself in the Miz-Taraj.
Yeah.
But while the Miz was still there, again, it was a comedy role for the most part, which, I don't know, what do you think? I think it's kind of his ceiling, to be honest.
I do as well. I hate to say it, I hate to be so negative, because he is a current champion, but, I think he is stuck in this kind of comedy role.
I think, for the record as well, I want to say that although maybe that's his ceiling, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either, because you need mid-card people, you need low-card people, but you never say never either. And with Bo Dallas, I think there's always the option there to do something with Bray.
Yeah.
Being that they're family.
I totally agree. And in recent matches on Raw and stuff, I noticed that they sort of don't put the two of them in the ring together.
I mean, there's something to explore there. If they do ever want to take him away and make him more serious or whatever, it's a good avenue to go down.
Yeah, there's a good opportunity here. Keep an eye on Bo for a wee while yet.
So you are a believer?
I am a believer, but, I also am a boner.
You have a boner for Bo Dallas?
I do.
From Davenport, Iowa, weighing 209 pounds, he is Seth Rollins!
So our next vignette before a match is for Tyler Black, now Seth Rollins. He was a massive standout in Ring of Honor. Had their world title, had amazing matches with Dan O'Brien down there, which we hope we get to see again now. And here he's in full emo hair, and he does a bit of a better job than Bo Dallas in the promo, but it's brief, and he actually doesn't have his match until next week.
Yeah.
But it's a half decent promo. I didn't so much like his promo that we see in the next episode after the match, but we'll talk about that when we get there. What did you think of this vignette?
Not bad. Kind of again states who he is. His moves and stuff look impactful. And he kind of says he's not there to be like anyone else. He's there to be himself. He's there to be the first and the only Seth Rollins. And sure, we all know where he went after that.
Exactly. I don't even think we need to talk about him a lot.
I don't.
Because he's the standout, I think, from this whole thing.
Fair play to you, Seth.
Do you remember the next vignette?
Was it Cesaro?
Cesaro's. He's a dangerous man.
He used to play rugby and he got kicked out of the rugby team for being too violent.
I know.
And he's Aksana. Is that right?
Aksana.
He's Aksana's lover.
This is when they were doing like the James Bond type thing that they tried for Dean Malenko as well.
Yeah.
And they're giving it to Cesaro now, and it didn't work for either of them really until they dropped it. But the rugby thing is so funny. I love that he was too violent for rugby.
Yeah. But I like this version of Cesaro. I know we don't see a match here, do we? I don't think we do.
Not this week.
But this version of Cesaro, well, maybe we'll talk about a little bit later, but he incorporates like rugby moves into his like wrestling repertoire. I like that.
You never thought you were going to see a rugby player in WWE, did you?
No, I did not.
How many years before we see a Gaelic player?
Sure, we've got loads of them now. There's Sheamus. He's been there ages.
If he starts doing Gaelic things in his matches, then we'll count it.
The road kick, Patrick.
Well, I suppose.
He's kicking it over
Kick the ball out of your hands.
Kicking over the goal.
Damien Sandow and Jason Jordan.
Jason Angle.
Just imagine if he had known who his daddy was, he could have skipped NXT altogether.
You know what? I really like his afro in this. It reminds me of Kurt Angle. You remember he got his head shaved by Edge and he wore like this wig every week? And it, we have to compare the two for maybe our Instagram or something.
Maybe we should. To see if the fatherly looks are passed down.
It's the same hair. Well,
it is hereditary.
So Jason's already in the ring for a one-on-one contest against the intellectual savior of the masses, my old friend Damien Sandow.
The Genius 2012.
I love Sandow, and this wasn't. Sandow was actually on the main roster already at this point.
He was.
He only recently had debuted on the main roster, if I remember right.
And he was still doing this sort of better than you, coming out and deciding whether he was going to wrestle his own matches. There were some nice touches in this. Like I liked how he came out and held his microphone like a wine glass.
Yeah.
I'll always love that. But he decided, he wasn't going to demean himself against Jason Jordan, so we don't actually get to see him wrestle here.
Yeah.
But that was the gimmick at the time.
He calls Jordan an ignoramus. Do you think it helped or hurt this version of NXT bringing kind of, I wouldn't say Sandow is an established star, but he's a star that people knew?
I think it always helps when you bring someone down from the main roster.
Yeah.
Just to give it a bit more eyes.
Yeah.
There's certain people that they do bring down here, like we'll talk about Tyson Kidd in a minute, who absolutely lended a lot to NXT.
Yeah.
In these early days of NXT too, if you remember, they had matches where John Cena came down. A few other, I think they would have dark matches after the show with Sheamus and whoever as well to sort of keep the fans happy and make them stick around for the whole taping. There's people like Damien Sandow then, the Usos, who were on the main roster but maybe not main eventers, who would come down and have matches, and even some of them lost to the up and coming talent, which I think really does help.
Yeah.
And if you're going to bring them down, you may as well use them to put somebody over, at least have great matches.
Yeah.
Damien Sandow had been in WWE before as Idol Stevens, you remember?
No.
In a tag team, they were on SmackDown very briefly with Michelle McCool as their manager before she had much of a personality, and she was doing like the teacher gimmick.
Okay.
And she would come.
I remember the teacher gimmick.
She'd come out with a big long ruler, which I think you were meant to presume she disciplined the lads with.
So what did Sandow wear then?
So it was a tag team. It was the Idol Stevens, KC James, and he had like longer hair, and they had really generic ring gear that they looked like they made themselves and carried all the way up from the Indies. But they didn't last long. Okay. They definitely didn't set the world on fire.
Well, it's nice then that Sandow had another chance to shine here. Like, that's a totally forgettable tag team. I can't remember them at all. I remember Michelle McCool. I probably remember her character from that time. And she also outshone the tag team. So it's nice that Sandow got a chance, because I really, really went on to really like Sandow.
I think everybody went on to like him. Like, he went back down to developmental. I think he might even been released and came back. But either way, it came back as this sort of modern day version of the Genius. Yeah. And maybe Michelle McCool really was a teacher, because if he came back smart, maybe that's what they were doing. They were studying.
To give him a good smack with that ruler. Sit down now, Sandow, and read this book. But now Sandow went on to be Mr. Money in the Bank.
He did.
He had a fantastic feud with Cody Rhodes.
The Team Rhodes Scholars, which is one of the worst tag team names there's ever been. But it was at a time when Team Hell No worked as a name, so anything can happen.
Oh, there were some shite team names in there.
Some awful names.
What was Kofi Kingston's? And
Air Boom.
Air Boom. And the fans got to vote on it.
You would just stick two people's names together and hope for the best. And it worked somehow.
Nightmare. Of course, when Sandow was the Mrs. Stunt Double, like, that was gold.
That was what got him over massively. I think that's when people started to go, okay, he's funny, but there's something else here. Like the stuff where like the Miz is bumping in the ring and he's bumping on the outside.
Yeah. Oh, that was fantastic. That was like one of those things that wasn't supposed to get over.
It was great. Like, it really worked. And that storyline with the Miz built, and people were like frantic for him to turn on him. Yeah. Really wanted to see it happen. Yeah. And then it happened. The WrestleMania pre-show, in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
So that was WrestleMania 31,
and it's
amazing. It flopped.
Fizzled out. Yeah, fizzled out a bit, and the feud that came after it was a bit piss poor as well. Like, it didn't really do Damien Sandow any favors, and I think already before that, losing the Money in the Bank clean to John Cena, didn't help him either.
It did not.
I actually read recently that the briefcase that he had, that special like leather briefcase he had, you remember he changed it into like a portfolio briefcase. Cody Rhodes said, I think on Twitter, that the guy that they paid to scuba dive down and find it after it got thrown in the river never found it. Oh. So it's out there somewhere.
Some lucky fan will find it someday, but like The Mask.
Someone turns into Damien Sandow when they put. I would throw it back in. Looking in retrospect, I would throw it back in. After this storyline with the Miz, he sort of, they try to keep him being funny. He did. Remember, he did like the meta powers of Curtis Axel. One was Hulk Hogan, one was Macho Man.
Well, he had like this really serious promo after the feud with the Miz. He kind of came to the ring, and he was like, "New character. I've got this attitude. I'm going to be entertaining, but I'm going to like be world champion someday." And then the very next night, he's like dressed up as the Macho Man.
Aye.
What?
I think someone just gave up very quickly when they had to come up with something new.
That was pretty much the end of Sandow in WWE, which is sad.
I don't think he didn't win a lot after that anyway. Do you think he was a wasted talent? Do you think he had a ceiling? Like we talked about Bo Dallas, or do you think there was more from him?
I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but like if we had seen a cash in, if he had successfully cashed in, I think we could have been looking at a very different Damien Sandow.
I'm going to be honest with Damien Sandow. I think he had his shortcomings very well, because I think in anything I've seen him do since hasn't really won me over.
No.
He's appeared now in TNA and stuff too.
Yeah.
And nothing that he's done since has really grasped me. So really, is it him? Was it the gimmick? I don't know.
He worked the gimmicks. I'd say his gimmicks worked for him. His storylines worked for him. And I said maybe he wasn't the most exciting wrestler in the world, but he was maybe a good character driven.
Damien Sandow, flop or not?
Personally, not for me, but yeah, maybe as a flop. I don't know. I'm 50-50, Patrick.
In the grand scheme of things, I'm going to say flop. Nothing personal. Not his fault either, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think he's a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
He's a victim of what happened.
I like your commentary, Patrick. It's a good way to summarise Sandow's WWE career.
So I want to move on to the Ascension.
Yeah.
They're in the next match against Mike Dalton and CJ Parker.
Mm-hmm.
So
they have a fucking package, right?
Right.
The Ascension, right? And the graphics is like these really old animation, dodgy PlayStation 1 graphics of these buildings. And it's just like two lads hanging out in the roof with their tops off, thinking they're the gargoyles or something.
Gargoyles is what I thought too. It reminded me of Disney's Gargoyles, the cartoon.
Yeah.
You remember? And all I could think of when they were coming to the ring was the music from the show. So we might have to put that up as well somewhere.
I have to say, like, their entrance as well, it's one of those things that I think they thought it was going to be, like, really epic. And they even did, like, all these, like, like Damon DX made their entrance, they cut the different clips of them.
They mixed the live footage with the entrance video.
I watched this entrance and I was like, I don't know what is live now and what is B-roll or whatever. Connor looks totally different here, I have to say. He almost looks like a wee pretty boy. He looks totally different, and as you can tell, someone backstage is really hot on Connor. Like, they just, the camera's on him all the time. They talk about him all the time. And he does like this, he just laughs and he does like this, like gold dust. I'm like, Connor, who the fuck is this dude?
The Ascension is all sound effects, because later on too, when they do their finisher, Kenneth Cameron, the other guy who we'll talk about again, he lets out this big throaty scream before they do the finisher, and it is...
Wow. It's a word. Look us up on the Urban Dictionary. It's a word that we use here in Ireland. It's whopping.
It is a whopping scream.
I don't. You know what, Patrick? I'm just going to say it. I don't like the Ascension at all. Their finisher, the tandem finishing move, that JR coined it. It's like what is it? It's like a face buster where he doesn't actually hit the ground.
Well,
and then a flapjack. And what do they call it?
It was called the Downcast.
Shite.
And that's what it was. It was a jawbreaker into a flapjack. And it is the least impactful finisher that they could have given a big bruiser tag team.
Yeah.
I have this in my notes as well for both matches, and both times the Downcast looks shite.
Yeah.
No, but I have to shout you, I like the Ascension.
No, Patrick.
I did. I like the entrance as well.
No,
but you know what I liked about it?
The blue light in his hand.
The horror story.
Well, at least that was never done before, at least not to my knowledge.
What was it? Did he have a torch up his sleeve?
It's an iPhone.
Just an iPhone in his hand. But he did look spooky.
Alright, they looked apart, but I just don't like them, Patrick.
It tread a thin line between cartoon and serious.
Yeah. What did you think WWE thought of this character? Did they think it was going to be like a new version of the Brood? Or the Ministry of Darkness.
At this time, I don't think they had any major plans for it. I think it was a cool thing that they had going on in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
When they moved to the main roster, when it was Connor and Victor,
Yeah.
they obviously were going for like a Legion of Doom, like the old school 80s when they would do those corny promos where it was just doing them in a room, split screen, and they would do laugh into the camera and all that. So I think they wanted like an old school, even like Demolition kind of thing. But here, I don't know what they were trying to go for here. I thought it was half cool and half absolutely shite.
And can I ask, what happened to the original tag team partner?
Well, so he was gone from NXT by the end of the year.
Okay.
He was charged with battery of a law enforcement officer.
Oh, like a bab. Actually, hold on, I like them.
Let that
I like
sink
this session.
Let it sink in. A battery of a law enforcement officer and disorderly intoxication, which I'm sure had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But that was enough to get him released from NXT, unsurprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
He's lucky he wasn't a big boss man,
I know.
because he'd be fucked. Since then, he's also had some issues with domestic battery against the girlfriend.
I don't like them.
Not Charlotte Flair, who he was married to before. He was married to Charlotte Flair.
You've done your research,
So
Patrick.
Kenneth Cameron went on to beat Bram in TNA. Do you remember Bram?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
It's kind of like a running joke that he always gets a contract renewal, like amongst those fans. But he kind of did okay in TNA after he left. I remember he had a famous feud with Abbas over. They had a Stairway to Janice match.
Okay.
What do you think of that is?
Stairway to Janice? Is Janice a woman?
Janice from Friends hanging from the roof. No, Janice was a business barbed wire baseball bat or nailed baseball bat, one of the two.
Oh, it's a bit like Moppy.
He was in love with this weapon. It was hanging from the ladder.
What other weapons does have a name in wrestling?
Moppy.
Dean Ambrose had a plant or something?
He did. He had a plant. And it had a name, and it got smashed.
It's called like Kevin or
And
something.
I'm spacing on the name for it.
Jericho smashed him, whatever his name was.
Someone had a barbed wire bat called Barbie as well.
Barbie, was that McFoley?
Could have been. Janice the Bat. So Bram had a pretty good run in TNA,
Mm-hmm.
all things considered. He won their King of the Mountain title, whatever that meant. And you sort of have to wonder what would have happened for him if he was able to keep his personal life in check.
Yeah.
He seemed to be the best member of the Ascension at this time, I think.
Yeah.
He seemed to have it a bit more at this time than Connor did. Connor, I think, has to be commended for surviving one of the worst gimmicks of all time in NXT, where basically we're obsessed with the fact that he looked like a rat. And they would bring him cheese backstage, or he would be looking for cheese backstage, which you have to wonder how it even came to be. He had to go off on his own then when Bram left. Obviously, they eventually replaced him with
Victor.
Victor as he is known now, with a K, not a C.
Did you know he graduated from the Stuart Hart bunch?
I do now because JR and William Regal told me. He went on a bit of a singles run, Connor, and then eventually found his new partner in the Ascension, and they were for a while the tag team in NXT, if you remember, and they did a really good job, and they were brought to the main roster, and it just didn't translate, did it?
Yeah, it just kind of flopped. I mean, what has been their defining moment?
In my eyes, to this time now, they came up as like they were supposed to be like a dominating 80s style tag team,
Yeah.
but all I remember them as now is Breezango's best friends.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, the only existing sort of memories I have them is them kind of vignettes with Breezango. They're pretty good on some of those other network shows, like the prank. What's the prank one? WWE has their own name for
Not punked, swerved.
Swerved. Those kind of shows, I kind of like them. Behind the scenes, they seem pretty cool.
I think that like they're not bad in the ring either. It's just one of those things that the gimmick hasn't translated.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're done already, or do you think that there's room to come back up again?
Oh, there's always room to come back up again.
Never say never.
Never say never. Never say never. What about the other tag team? It was Tyler Breeze.
So it was Tyler Breeze as Mike Dalton
Mm-hmm.
and CJ Parker, who is now Juice Robinson.
What was his defining moment? Did he break Kevin Owens' nose on his debut?
Juicy? I think he did.
I think he did.
I think he did. He was doing like a hippie character
Yeah.
as well for a while. We need to get a gift of that. People will watch that.
Yeah.
He actually left on his own request because they
Yeah.
weren't doing anything with him. He went to the Indies. He's in New Japan now. He's Juice Robinson, doing really well for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Improved. Well, you say improved drastically. Maybe he was just good all along. Do you like much about him? Do you think he can do a Drew McIntyre and come back after proving he's got what it takes, or does he need to?
You know, it's got to be said, like, WWE's not the only show in town. And there's great that there's other outlets and other places where these wrestlers can go and work on their craft, and they come back to WWE years later, and they bring this new style with them, or they've developed as a person or as a wrestler. All the best to him. I hope he does well. I'm excited for him to come back. I want to see what happens. But as you mentioned, the Ascension's best buddies in this match as well. Tyler Breeze. So he didn't even tag into the match. CJ Parker took all the damage. Yeah.
And they ended up going into a feud against each other over the fact that CJ Parker kept photobombing Tyler Breeze. That was a bit down the line. But Tyler Breeze is a guy I love. He's just one of these guys that I've really attached myself to.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I'm breaking ground. He saved that puppy.
Yeah.
Stole the puppy.
He stole someone's dog.
He didn't try to find out
I
who
know.
owned the puppy.
He just took him.
But something about that really endeared him to me. But Tyler Breeze was a guy who, in NXT, was in the title run. Was in the title hunt, I should say. He was in that really famous match I mentioned earlier, the Fatal 4-Way, which was considered one of the best matches in the history of NXT. My favourite moment for him was against Jushin Liger at, was it the first Brooklyn? It was Brooklyn Takeover, the first Brooklyn Takeover. And so I think he had a really good NXT run.
Yeah.
And again, goes to the main roster. And what happens?
He kind of flops again.
It doesn't translate.
That match that you mentioned, Jushin Liger, like that was like we seen in kind of Breaking Ground. That was like a reward from being like.
That should have been a star making.
Yeah.
That should have been brought up every time he came out on the main roster and stuff. And it started off okay, like he was in with Dolph Ziggler, and everybody seems to go to Dolph Ziggler first when they come up from NXT.
Yeah.
But he just got lost in the shuffle.
He did, and very quickly as well. And I like Tyler Breeze as well, and I'm kind of glad that he found like this tag team with Fandango. I'm not a fan really of Breezango as such, Patrick, but I think he's a good talent, and it'd be a shame for him to get almost the Sandow treatment and gone. So I'm glad he's got something. He's had something to do.
I worry for him too, because you've seen already in the 2 weeks since Fandango got injured that he's being fed to Mojo Rawley.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be in.
Again, I think the character has been already so established that, it's almost like we'll get to in a minute. It'll be almost unbelievable for him to, beat a big star and stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's next for Tyler Breeze.
I think they could do it if they sort of destroy any memory of the current Breezango Tyler Breeze and bring back the selfie stick. That Tyler Breeze, that really narcissistic, really loves himself Tyler Breeze. If that Tyler Breeze came back, he has a good chance of saving himself, I think.
Good things come to those who believe in Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt promo next.
Yep.
So this is, I think, a lot of people's, one of their highlights from the NXT days is the character of Bray Wyatt and its evolution from the early days. This is the first time you see the video package, and it's the Bray Wyatt that I think the character should have been, the Bayou cult leader who's sort of grounded in reality, but he's leading the cult, so he's a wee bit insane. Not the Bray Wyatt that has magic powers and can make an overhead projector full of slugs appear for Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Sometimes it's great when it's over the top, and sometimes it does need to be a wee bit more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think Bray Wyatt has gone far off the other deep end. But to me, these original promos are great. The tone of them, the music, and the script. What do you think?
It reminds me of like the Crocodile Hunter in this. Like the music and the setting. I know it's probably just someone's backyard, but it just reminds me like it's down in a swamp or something, and he's going to go wrestle an alligator.
He is in a Louisiana swamp, but maybe if he did wrestle an alligator, that would have even put the character even more over the top.
I know, but I like the things he says in this promo. He says things like, "You've been lying to your children," and he says things like, "Your children should look under their bed because monsters are real."
Monsters are real. That's a really good line on it.
Yeah.
And did you notice something about, not this promo, but the one in the second episode? Luke Harper in the promo.
Yeah.
As one of the followers.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice touch.
Yeah.
And I was going to talk about it now, me as well, but there's also a woman in the video they show, which whenever they started talking about Sister Abigail and stuff, people look back and were like, oh, it's this person.
Yeah.
And is it going to be this person? Do you think they ever should have made Sister Abigail into a real person?
There was a time when they came to the main roster, I think after the Wyatt family broke up, there was a time and a place where it would have got a massive pop, no matter who it was, probably. Probably if it was an established star, even better. I think they dropped the ball with that. They should have.
They should have pulled the trigger quicker.
Yeah. So as I said, Bray Wyatt said the monsters are real, and he also says the boogeyman is real. But I'd fucking like to think so, because I've been watching WWE for 20 years, and I've been seeing Braun Strowman and Kane being told they're fucking monsters every week. We had your man eating the worms. Oh,
The boogeyman has to be real because who was eating all those worms otherwise?
that's what I'm saying. So he's not down saying we don't already know.
No. You've got a young EC3
What's it?
and a young Fandango in the toilets.
This is news to me. I didn't know it was EC3.
Derek Bateman is EC3.
What? It's news to me.
This is what I mean when I said earlier that he found the weight room, because he's almost unrecognisable.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got in shape. He learned so much in TNA.
Yeah.
Developed a different gimmick, stopped doing comedy. But I think the big thing that saved his career was he chopped off the curly hair.
I'm in shock. I'm in shock.
You knew Johnny Curtis was Fandango, didn't you?
Yeah.
You knew that one.
Who?
You couldn't get around that one. But he, like, Curtis, I'm going to mix up what I'm calling him on this time, but Johnny Curtis, he has this really odd gimmick this time where he's just a complete creep.
Yeah.
He's sort of a bit like Fandango, but he's more like a T-Bird. He loves himself from Greece.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's just looking at himself in the mirror, and him and Derek Whitman have they've had an ongoing storyline at this time.
So, you know, at this time, they kind of announced it was like a rebranding of NXT, a new season. So they also knew there was going to be a lot of new eyes on the product because, as I said, like we were already conditioned to treat NXT like a C show or maybe a D show. So, you know, watching this back, did they expect the new audience who just turned into NXT for the first time, did they expect them to know who Derek Bateman and who Fandango were?
I think they kind of assume that you're going to keep watching the show that you were watching. If you were watching NXT Redemption, if you stuck with it for that long,
Yeah.
you're going to watch the new one too.
Yeah.
They did carry on their storyline for a bit, and this is kind of like almost a blow off to it, and it's not really much to it. The match actually happens next week,
Yeah.
but this one they just meet in the toilets, and they have a sort of a small chat, and then Derek Bateman asks him, "Are you going to wash your hands?" And he just rubs them on his top. just rubs his dirty hands, pishy hands all over his t-shirt. The main event was Michael McGillicuddy and Tyson Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
And still to this day, it strikes me every time how bad a name Michael McGillicuddy was. How did they come up with that as a wrestler's name?
Do you know what? I don't know. I have to agree. It's a weird name. It's not a good name. And Regal says things like when he makes his entrance, he's like Michael McGillicuddy hasn't figured out how good he is yet. And 6-7 years later, he still hasn't figured it out.
No, maybe he needs to have a chat with William Regal. Somebody needs to tell him. Tyson Kidd as well. I think he was always great, but I think it really turned around for him when he shaved off his wee hair flick.
I know, didn't it?
It was like holding him back in some way.
I think, his surname Kidd probably didn't do him any favours because he actually looked like a kid. He probably was a kid. He was probably really young. Him and Davey Boy Smith.
Is that the worst hair there's been in wrestling?
It's definitely in the top 3.
It has to be. It's the one I think of all time. When I think about it, I think about if you know the original Ronaldo in football when he showed up to World Cup with vagina hair. And that's all I think about whenever I think about Tyson Kidd's flick. But these two, they're already established. They've been on the main roster, and they were sort of quietly having a great wee feud on main event and superstars and whatever. And this match actually goes about 15 minutes, which was sort of odd for the 2 episodes we watched, and I liked it.
Yeah, I think it was a good match as well. The audience got a good decent wrestling match after sitting through a couple of squashes, and they have
some videos
again already established stars somewhat, but they were given a chance to shine.
I think it was good in the way that it had like springboards, reversals, it had even callbacks to their other matches, and towards the end even stole each other's moves, and it's great. Michael McGillicuddy steals the sharpshooter, and then Tyson Kidd puts the dungeon lock on him. But what I liked about it was he started booting him in the head while he had him in the dungeon lock.
I know.
Great touch.
It's good to see some intensity from Tyson Kidd.
It was.
I think this definitely helped him.
I think so too. I think they both went into this with like the mindset of, right, let's show them what we can do if they'll give us time. Give us 15 minutes to have a good match. As they were already kind of doing it on main event and superstars.
Yeah.
They brought this one to NXT, the first episode.
Yeah.
And sort of put in a really good showing for each other. And I just think they're two people that really, given the opportunity, could have done a lot more and really haven't since. We know Tyson will probably never get the chance to do it now because he's had a career-ending injury since.
Yeah.
But I really think he found himself again in NXT. He had an environment where maybe things weren't as scripted. he wasn't being held back as much. I hate that term, held back, but he brought his big game experience down.
Yeah.
He was able to elevate people around him and had some brilliant matches. Like, you got to see Tyson Kidd and Neville.
Yeah.
Tyson Kidd and Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
People like that.
So we got to see a wee bit of Kids and McGillicuddy's chemistry in the ring, and we got to see sort of how good they were when the spotlight was on them. But Patrick, it's important to mention this match, we kind of got to see a bit of chemistry between Regal and JR. At this point, they've already called the full show together, and it's mostly been, stating facts about where wrestlers have come from. But I think this match is good, and you've seen some chemistry between the two. I liked Regal's commentary. I think it was the first time I've heard him as a commentator, and he used terminology about like McGillicuddy being a ring general, and he always knows where he is in the ring. And the commentary for me enhanced the match. It was refreshing. We're so used to the Raw commentary team, and they're talking, I don't know what they're talking about most of the time. I wish I could mute them. So it was refreshing for a commentary team to comment on the match, and it enhanced what they were doing in the ring.
Every time I look at Tyson Kidd now, I just feel sad for him, because he's a guy, like, if you see him behind the scenes and any of the behind the scenes stuff, even Total Divas, which I know is half made up, but he's just one of those guys that just loved wrestling, loved the business, and it's always guys like that, Edge, Daniel Bryan, the worst, like, the careers end early. And Tyson Kidd, like, it's good now that he's working on a behind the scenes role, but for a while there it was like, I think he was told that the injury he had is sort of similar to what Christopher Reeves went through. It could have left him quadriplegic, but he was so in the 5% or 1% or whatever that survived it. It was Samoa Joe he was in the ring with when he was injured. What do you think in situations like that? Accidents happen. Do you think it's the right to retire the move that did it? Or is it just a case of it was an accident?
Yeah, you hear wrestlers talk so much on podcasts about their bump card, and it's the risk that they take, and every time the stars get in the ring, they're putting their life on the line. They literally are. It's a shame that Kid got injured. Maybe it was something that was just always going to happen. I don't know. I don't know about retiring moves. When you look at other promotions, even TNA, this weekend, their big Slammiversary show, I only got a chance to watch one match, Pentagon Junior match. It's the first time I've seen a pile driver in a long time.
They're pulling out package pile drivers on chairs and everything.
And so it just shows not every time you do a specific move is someone's career going to get ended.
I think Chris Jericho's kind of talked about this, where certain moves get tarred with a brush, kind of.
Yeah.
And once they heard that what move injured him, and they said, oh, it was the Muscle Buster.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, well, that's banned. Kind of like there was a stigma towards the Styles Clash.
Yeah.
And Chris Jericho sort of gives himself the credit where he got it unbanned.
Yeah.
Just didn't call it the Styles Clash. Just called it AJ's finish. That's his new finish, which he uses as a finish. And kind of got the ban unofficially lifted.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think any move can go wrong at any time. You wouldn't have completely banned the running powerbomb that sort of injured draws, would you?
Yeah, but there are times, I remember Sting's last match against Seth Rollins, and Sting is a 50-something-year-old man, and he took two buckle bombs, and I was kind of going like, what the fuck, why? And I remember at the time going like whoa, don't be doing that.
It's okay, Sting.
And that it's injured Finn
Balor as well.
And it basically ended Sting's career, which again is something that was always going to happen. You've only got so many bumps you can take. It's a debate we could sit and have all day, Patrick.
Yeah, and it's not relevant to what we're talking about.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Nah. So we'll move on then. Second episode.
Hold on.
What have you got?
Curtis Axel.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Curtis Axel. I don't know. I like Curtis Axel as a performer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a bit above the comedy that he gets.
Yeah.
That he gets given. I liked when he was a Paul Heyman guy a lot.
Mm-hmm. There was a nice touch there where he won the IC title on Father's Day.
Yeah.
And attributed to his late father, of course, Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they really, for whatever reason, I don't know why, haven't used. Maybe he doesn't want to use it, but that I don't think he would be the kind of guy who say, I don't want to mention my dad, because he obviously is very proud of his father is.
Yeah. And
I just don't know why they don't use these things when they have them.
I'm not the prettiest guy in the room. Well,
in this room,
I am. But maybe for me, Curtis Axel doesn't have the look. Maybe for Vince McMahon,
maybe he's not perfect enough.
Oh, he's not perfect enough. I like that. But he has had some success. As of this recording, he is the current Raw Tag Team Champion with our old friend Big Smiley Bo.
And he still hasn't been eliminated from the Royal Rumble.
Oh, he hasn't. So he was involved with the storyline with Heyman and Punk at the time. But something about Axel that always stands out to me. Like, I remember reading the dirt sheets and the news on the forums and that Axel was kind of the wrestler of choice. They trained with Brock Lesnar and The Rock when they were making their big comebacks.
So they have some sort of faith in him, at least.
Yeah.
Hopefully that translates into something for him. You have to think. Let me ask you, when the B team split, which one of them's who's gonna turn on who, and where's it gonna go?
You know what? I think we've kind of hit on something earlier, and I think Bo's going to turn on him and team up with Bray. I see it's kind of double turn. I mean, I don't want to sit here and fantasy book. I'd love to see Bo and Bray together, and I think McGillicuddy, I don't know, I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle.
Wouldn't be the first time.
So before we move on to episode 2, Patrick, there was another important promo package during the show.
What was it?
It was the Raw Rewind.
Oh, the Raw Rewind. I actually skipped this, so you're going to have to tell us what happened.
So this week on the Raw, was the Rewind or the Rebound? I think it was the Rebound.
I don't know.
We'll call it the Raw Rewind. The storyline was John Laurinaitis just got fired.
You fired me, boss!
He got fired by Vince McMahon at the previous pay-per-view, which I think was Extreme Rules, I want to guess. But at the end of the pay-per-view was Cena putting Laurinaitis through the table. So the next episode of Raw kicks off with John Laurinaitis in the ring, even though he gets sacked. So long story short, he said he made a match for Raw before he got fired, so he has to compete. John Laurinaitis in a handicap match with Big Show and
David Otunga
against John Cena. Big Show leaves him hanging, David Otunga leaves him hanging, and Cena has about 5 A's on him. So that was the Raw Rewind for that week. You remember that?
I don't remember the Raw Rewind. I remember that era of Raw is almost just like the John Cena show to me.
Yeah.
Where every episode I relate to John Cena, and you're telling me there was an episode of Raw with David Otunga in the main event, and there's a reason I don't remember. But I want to bring up something too that happened during this show that I have in my notes here. Remember they used to do, I don't know if they still do it, but the Did You Know sections of Raw. Have you seen the one on this episode?
What was it?
More people bought the WrestleMania DVD than bought the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
I was like, no one buys the Super Bowl on DVD. The facts were always so weirdly skewed in WWE's favour. Like, they really cherry-picked the facts that would make them look good. Episode 2?
Episode 2.
So, our first match is Seth Rollins against the man, the myth, the legend, Jiro. Seth Rollins marches his way down to the ring, and it's not cool, but it's Seth Rollins, so it's okay.
I don't like this entrance, Patrick. What the fuck was that?
Well, he was a scene kid. He had to work it into everything back then.
He looks like an idiot.
Jiro was given no respect, no entrance, nothing. He's just in the ring. It's all wrestling counters to begin with until Jiro hits the woman's special slap. Seth gets all fired up, hits all his moves, hits the curb stomp, which I think was called
the Blackout. And
then Seth gets an interview on the stage on his way out, and it's all angst and emo. And
before his interview, Patrick, he celebrates in the ring doing some headbanging.
That's right, he moshed everything. Even when he won titles, he spun them round like a slam dancer.
I don't like this Seth Rollins at all.
I thought it was cheesy, but looking back, I'm like, that's okay, because look at what it became. So you can sort of forgive him for it.
We all had to start somewhere, I suppose.
But what I cannot forgive him for is this promo. And I'm going to tell you it word for word here.
Okay.
It ends with Seth Rollins saying he's going to rip their roots out of the ground, the clouds from the sky, turn the place upside down and change the world one heart at a time.
Oh. I don't even know what to say.
Oh, it's awful.
Well, thank God he gets interrupted then.
By the main man, Jinder Mahal.
Former WWE champion, Jinder Mahal.
Now, I was sure that this promo with Seth Rollins was going to be an emo song, and I googled the lyrics and found nothing, but it was, either way, it was horrendous. It was one of those, like, I'm so emo, man. Can we recap the WWE career of my favourite wrestler, Jiro?
Let's do it.
Right. December 5th, 2011, he debuts in Florida Championship Wrestling. Loses every match.
Okay.
June 27th, 2012.
Poor Jiro.
debuts in NXT, loses to Seth Rollins. June 2012, same month,
Yeah.
he's let go by WWE.
Jiro.
Right. June 2013, 1 year later, he's arrested under suspicion of taking photos of ladies' skirts.
Oh, good on you, Jiro. No, I can't condone that.
Well, it brings a whole new meaning to the term Jiro dreams of sushi.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, but that has to be up there with the all-time worst
Yeah.
runs of form.
I liked him. I liked him.
Well, wait, there's Jinder Mahal who's scheduled in our next match.
So Jinder, anyway. So they get him over straight away using that old tired foreigner technique. He speaks in Punjab. I assume he's speaking in Punjab.
The Tiger Ali Singh one we saw in the last episode.
Oh yeah, I know. He's speaking in Punjab and he sort of claims that he will become, or we will all become subservient to him and will witness his reign of domination. And you know what? He's telling the absolute truth.
He was right
He
all
was
those
right.
years. If he knew how right he would become. What I noticed about him is that he is noticeably smaller.
Patrick.
Make of that what you will.
I'm not even sure it's the same person.
I'm not going to say anything that might get me in trouble. But he's very small compared to what he is now.
He is a wee tiny boy, isn't he? He's a wee boy.
Back then he did.
Wee boy Jinder. Jinder and Jiro.
Jinder and Jiro. And he's up against Jason Jordan.
Oh, he's Jace.
So there we go.
So Jason Jordan comes out with his Kurt Angle hairstyle again. I think this is a decent match.
7 matches in 1 hour. So they weren't given a lot of time to work with. But as you say, decent match.
Decent match. Just an observation on the match. Jason Jordan has some fancy Comic Sans print on his pants.
He really went all out there.
It says, "Get some."
Get some what?
Get some what, Jordan?
At least it wasn't on Jiro's tights.
I know. Get your daddy. So Jinder wins with the camel clutch.
Every time they get like one of these monster foreign heels,
Yeah.
they always have a chance of doing something. So if you're an aspiring wrestler now and you're in a foreign country, work on your anti-America promo because it's going to get you somewhere. Jinder, even here, you thought, he's going to be in the main roster eventually. Like, he has to be up there somewhere. Jason Jordan, you weren't so sure about, but I remember hearing about him at the time. I remember hearing that he was scouted specifically by Gerald Briscoe. Yeah. And being how close he is with the McMahons, he thought there must be sort of good plans for Jason Jordan too. Mm-hmm. He sort of didn't do anything for the next while, did he?
He didn't. I remember a lot of backstage segments with Jordan and Gable even before they were a tag team.
When he was trying to convince him to team up with him.
Yeah.
And he did the old Ready, Willing and Gable.
Yeah.
And Jason Jordan hated it.
But up to that point, I have very little memory of Jordan. I think it was one of those talent that puts other people over.
He was one of those floaters in NXT until he met Chad Gable. Yeah. And they became American Alpha, which is, I don't know about you, but one of my favourite tag teams that's been in NXT.
Same. I have to totally agree. One of the best tag teams.
And then what happened?
Ever.
They got called up.
I know. Oh, fuck. Let's not get onto that. Well, I suppose that's the point of this conversation.
They won the tag title, so you can call it a success?
Yeah, I think American Alpha's run on SmackDown. I think they were the first tag team champions on SmackDown. Or were they the second?
The first was Heath Slater and Rhino, wasn't it?
Fuck.
Jason Jordan got moved to Raw, and we all know now he got revealed as Kurt Angle's son.
His bastard son.
So he was in the midst of a pretty sort of interesting storyline with Seth Rollins as well. Yeah. Until he got injured. You have to expect he's coming back to at least a bit of a push. He's got a storyline ready and waiting when he comes back. What do you think?
I still see big things for Jordan. I think putting him in line with Angle. I think that's a feud that's waiting to happen as well.
Is he in over his head or is he in the right spot?
I think when he was paired together with Gable had that more charisma and stuff, and I think it really helped Jordan. I would like to see Jordan do well. I think he's got great in-ring talent, and I think he could reach the brass rings.
I think Chad Gable is ridiculously good. I think he is the guy that should be in there suplexing everybody.
He's too small, Patrick.
I'm leaving. I don't care. Rick Steiner was small too. He could suplex the hell out of somebody. What do you think of Jinder, Sense?
Jinder's former WWE champion. He had a Punjabi prison match with Randy Orton.
Is it the worst title run in recent history?
That's fucking terrible. I have to say, I have the pleasure of being in the Manchester Arena the night that Jinder lost the title to AJ Styles. And you know what? Because we talked last week in our episode of Capital Carnage, we've been so accustomed to think title changes and stuff won't happen here. And it was such a shock to see AJ won the WWE Championship in the United Kingdom. And it was like the end of the reign of terror. It was an unbelievable moment to be in that arena.
It was a hard time to watch that feud on top. No disrespect to Randy Orton, and actually no disrespect to Jinder Mahal, but I just don't think he's at that level.
I don't think he's at that level, and you know what? I think being paired off with Orton done him no favours either.
I am Leo Kruger. I am from Southern Africa.
After this, we got Leo Kruger.
Oh, fuck.
What did you think of Leo Kruger?
Hate him.
I didn't like any incarnation of his characters. I can't even comment on his wrestling style.
I gotta say, he has like little promo package before the match. It was like a fucking trailer for Jumanji.
Where he's like supposed to be like a rich white South African.
Yeah.
Which is the most hated thing you can be in South Africa, but I don't know if it translated here. He says that Leo means lion, he's the king of the jungle, the alpha. And what I loved about it was he's all shirt and tie sitting here chatting himself up, and then he comes to the ring in a loincloth.
Yeah.
They fight Aiden English. Of all people.
I know. I didn't like Kruger at all. I didn't like him even when he
became Adam Road.
Yeah.
You didn't like the Exotic Express?
I did not, Patrick, and his lollipops and his music and his fucking... Yeah, but you know what I did like about him? And I think WWE missed the boat a wee bit. He featured him on those like 30 for 30 programs, and he talked about, he has a sick son and he has to be fed through a tube and stuff. And so this aired on a Sunday night or whatever, and then, he's obviously featured on Raw the next week. Or I don't even know if he was, but I think they could have taken advantage of that. I mean, you get invested in characters, especially when you see like their story and their hardships, and how they live and how they survive, and I think they missed the boat a wee bit.
I think nothing gets someone over more than being likeable in real life.
Yeah. Look at Daniel Bryan.
Exactly.
Oh, he's amazing in the ring, and he is
That
charismatic.
helped.
But I mean, he's just the most. He's like Dave Grohl. He's like one of the most lovable people.
No one has a bad word to say.
Yeah. So Adam Rose for me, he's a fucking flop, and I hate that they're giving No Way Jose the same fucking shit.
The same treatment, just without the conga line.
Yeah.
Well, he has the conga line too, so you can't even say that without the lollipop. But the party animal angle got dropped then as well, I remember, and if you remember briefly, he came back as like a Hollywood critic type.
Yeah.
And he had like his own talk show. I can't remember the name of it. It was like something to do with Rose. It's a pun on his name anyway. And then he was in the Social Outcast as well.
Oh, he was?
Briefly, before he got suspended.
Yeah. So he got let go because of some domestic violence or something?
Well, his second suspension was for a wellness policy, I mean. But he went on Twitter and really staunchly defended himself and said he had a prescription for everything he had, and I think you can put up a picture of a doctor's note, which, just keep quiet.
Yeah.
If you get fired over it, maybe fight your corner. But he sort of went hard defending his own corner. But then a couple of weeks later, people were sort of like, okay, maybe he's telling the truth. Mm-hmm. Then a couple of weeks later, he did get arrested for domestic abuse and tampering with a witness.
Ooh.
Which, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but this is what it's listed as. They should have teamed him with Bram. It's a tag team made in hell. I have one thing I think that might have saved Leo Kruger had he stuck around.
If I get a fucking Freddy Krueger mask and a glove.
I'm not going on his name. I mean, I'm going to go with the South African heritage. If they had made him like a warlord type of really evil African and sort of tied it in when Black Panther came out.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Maybe it could have worked.
I remember like online, there was a big call for the return of the Leo Kruger character. I think when the Adam Rose character was kind of flopping, and I'm like, why? Aiden English also in the match, he just gets squashed.
Yeah, we should say that the match happened too.
The match did happen. Freddy Krueger wins with a fucking sleeper. See, he's got the right move.
He needs to put you to sleep.
Yeah. And a very quick tap out. But Patrick, I gotta say, it was a very boring match.
It was a really flat finish. I noticed too, the crowd were just like, they were sleeping. This was about a year before he started appearing as anything more than a jobber, really. he started then coming out singing with his scarf and his wee beret and whatever, and then he eventually formed the Vaudevillains, Simon Gotch. And they did really well with a gimmick. It's never should have worked, really.
Yeah, it got really over in NXT, and I think NXT was just the right setting for it. And as soon as I came to the main roster,
I didn't think that was ever going to work in the main roster.
No.
And I think they're two good guys, and the gimmick was really well in NXT. But I think there's certain things that before they call up that maybe they should have a wee look at.
Yeah.
And maybe not work out. But again, we've said it a few times. They went to the main roster, and I've been saying it didn't translate. I don't know.
Lost in translation.
Is it the writers on Raw, SmackDown? What is it?
I think in NXT there's a specific target audience, and it's us. It's us nerds to like talk about wrestling for hours on end and analyze everything and give ratings to matches, and I'm not saying we're all nerds, but I'm just saying like we pay attention to this stuff. When you come to Raw, like as we've heard them say,
we're not the casual audience.
Yeah, we're not the casual audience, but you go to Raw, there's kids, there's grandparents, there's parents, there's non-fans, there's hardcore fans. So it's a weird one.
I think people feared for him a wee bit especially when Simon Gotch got released, because they were like, what's he going to do now? But he's done pretty well since he went back to singing and teamed up with Rusev, which has done wonders so far, and it's obviously they've got a ready-made storyline that's already in progress. Plus, he's married to Eddie and Vicky's daughter.
Oh, is it? I didn't know this.
So he's a Guerrero now. So he's probably safer than some.
Yeah.
I think that any time the round of cuts come round, he's probably one of the last on the list.
And they will see. They will see who Richie Steamboat is.
A vignette for Richie Steamboat.
Oh.
And he is the anomaly in all this, really. Some of the characters and stuff didn't really translate and go forward, but Richie Steamboat just disappeared.
Yeah. So I gotta say, Richie, I knew nothing about Richie before this. Was he at FCW?
He was. He was pretty good down there.
So this kind of introductory promo, he says things like, I'm not trying to fill my father's shoes, I'm trying to fill my own shoes. But then
he didn't fill anybody's shoes.
All he fucking did was compare himself to his father for the rest of the promo, and for the entirety of the match. The commentary team compare him to his father. So I guess they had an uphill battle. We had other second and third generation stars on the show, and they singled out Richie, and I think it really worked against them.
Maybe that's why they don't mention Mr. Perfect when they mention because they think that it is going to work against them, much like it did here for Richie Steamboat. I think his was a wee bit of an unfortunate story, but as you say, he says he didn't want to fill his father's shoes, but he's shoeless here, he's barefoot somewhere because he didn't fill any. He has a match in a bit against, again, Rick Victor.
Yeah.
Victor from earlier.
Our dungeon pal. Our dungeon man.
But as you say, he comes out and he uses a moveset completely based on his dad's. He does the arm drags and he does the chop too, I think, doesn't he? Like the dragon chop.
Yeah.
And his dad's on the crowd as well, watching. So the whole thing's based on him being a steamboat. But he gets the one, obviously, here. And it's all working the arm. And it's like a showcase for his steamboat legacy, even though it goes completely against what he said in the video. It's all steamboats.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And Regal kind of reinforces the idea of, Richie is determined to make it on his own laurels. And I kind of so they could have changed the surname. He could have came out and been the Goon version 2.
Tell your dad to go home.
Yeah, I just that just surprises me.
He sort of seemed like he had it all sewn up, like he had it on a silver platter, you're Ricky Steamboat's son. You're getting pushed as such. He did have a couple of feuds in NXT. He had one with Cassius Ohno that went on for a wee while, but he just never showed up again after that, and he was gone from WWE quietly a year later. And in the years since, it's been reported that it was sort of due to an injury.
Mm-hmm.
He said in an interview since that he landed wrong off a moonsault and lost all feeling, and then eventually just bulked up, and doctors said you need a break, and he never came back.
Yeah.
Would you class him as the most disappointing? Maybe disappointing's unfair to him, but disappointing or saddest tale of a second or third generation star?
He's up there. You look back to Randy Orton's stable legacy. You look back to Legacy, and he was on that $1 Million Man's son.
I and Cody Rhodes and Manu.
So Manu was like kind of disappeared pretty quick. I think Randy kicked him out of the group.
Man United.
DiBiase just, same as this. He was never going to live up to his followers. His followers is a huge shadow over his entire career. Even after Legacy broke up, he was coming out with $1 million championship and stuff. And I was like,
I don't think he's the worst because he's not David Flair.
oh, I didn't think of David.
He's got to be up there as one of the worst. Not a sad story or anything, he just didn't have it.
Yeah,
And his dad's like regarded as like the best ever
I know. But
in many circles. So that was a hard one to live up to in the first place.
yeah.
Do you think Richie could have went somewhere, or is there sort of too little evidence to even tell?
It's too little evidence. And I think we're looking back and this is in hindsight. And
It's easy to look back on.
yeah, I don't know what would have been in the store, but they also had they had him on a bit of a pedestal for some reason, and they singled him out over the other multi-generation superstars.
We skipped something here.
We
skipped your old buddies, the Ascension.
Oh, they came back. Fuck that fucking I lived through that entrance again. The Gargoyles are back, but this time they're out to take on a competitive team, the Usos, who are already somewhat established on NXT in this previous incarnation.
Who were kind of already on the main roster too. They'd already been on TV for a bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I find it weird here looking at the Usos because I haven't watched a lot of this old stuff in a while.
Yeah.
From this era, and it's so weird to see them dancing around and trying to please everybody.
Regal makes some weird commentary during the match. He kind of says things like he wants the Usos to go out with his twin daughters. Do you know what he's talking about?
I didn't even know he had twin daughters.
Neither did I. Again, they make the commentary team make note that the Usos are second, third generation stars. Is that right? They mentioned their father Rikishi, which we all know. This is something that's not hidden from us.
It was even on Total Divas.
Yeah.
Which I'll probably reference a lot more than I should.
Yeah. But the match finishes a competitive match, not bad for as much as I didn't like the Ascension.
And how did it end?
Their fucking tandem maneuver. They're downcast. Fuck
The
me.
downcast puts me down.
Yeah. Apologies for my bad language.
It's okay, I'll just stick an explicit on this one. Well, they got the win, which is something to note. They beat the established team. There's nothing new really that we didn't say about the Ascension earlier, but they beat the Usos.
Yeah.
Which was a vote of confidence, do you have to say? Cesaro against Dante Dash. What do you think of that for a name?
I like it.
You like Dante Dash?
Alliteration.
It sounds good.
It sounds good. We get the wee package again about Cesaro.
A dangerous man.
Yeah, he's my lover. That's what I mentioned earlier. But Dante doesn't get a look on.
You know what? I even looked up Dante here, and even though I found some weird things about Jiro and some other people, couldn't find a lick of information about Dante Dash, so I have nothing for you here, apart from the fact that Cesaro beat him. If anybody knows what happened to Dante Dash, please let us know.
Yeah, Dante, leave a comment down in the description for us and let us know what you're up to, buddy.
Yeah, if you're just around sitting listening to podcasts, you might have got as far as us. Anything to say about Oksana while we're here?
I love Oksana. She's lovely.
Well, Cesaro got a wee kiss from her at the end of his match.
He did, because he's our lover. We're well reminded. Cesaro was already in the main roster here at this point. He was already an established star. And as we've said previously, I think it was important to roll out these established stars.
So, the main event.
Whoa, hold on. It's time for another Raw rebound.
For fuck's sake. Go, what was it this time?
This time, it was the main event of Raw. Chris Jericho versus John Cena. Super Cena.
The John Cena show.
This is a rematch from a few years before. The package is about the great match, and Cena's overcoming the Y2J until, however, the Big Show makes one of his heel turns. He makes his way to the ring and he knocks the fuck out of John Cena. He has him with a big leg drop and he sticks him on the Colossus clutch until he passes out.
One of those, I don't miss Raw at this. I don't miss the main event scene of Raw anyway.
How bad was Raw?
Why do we do it to ourselves?
I don't know.
I haven't given up after all these years.
But let's get on to the main event.
Okay, we're nearly there. Derek Bateman, Johnny Curtis, EC3 and Fandango, as we just found out.
I'm still in shock.
Still in shock. So this is kind of the only one that had much of a build-up, besides Tyson Kidd and Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
I'm keep calling him Curtis Axel. He's Michael McGillicuddy here, but then again, you don't need much of a build-up. Booker T and Edge got to WrestleMania fighting over shampoo.
Yeah.
So. But despite this, they only get 4 minutes because we've already had 6 matches before it.
Yeah.
And there's not much to it.
There's
Again,
not much to it. I like that it starts off with a bit of intensity. I'm just going to call him Fandango for the crack. Fandango starts the match off with a big hard slap, and then he runs away.
Yeah.
And I like that. I was like, ooh, it was a good start to the match.
I like that. At one point he's working the leg and he throws in the old Fandango wiggle. So he always had it on him. He was always a bit of a dancer. But before it even gets going, really, Derek Bateman has a headlock DDT, which he calls the DBD.
Yeah.
And it's over.
Say that 5 times
Simple as
fast.
that. I can't. I barely said it the first time. So Derek Bateman gets the one.
Yeah.
Heading forward. What do you think since?
Well,
Where did you think Derek Bateman went if you didn't know he was EC3?
I don't know. I thought he just went away.
Just disappeared like Dante Dash.
Well, this is my live thoughts at this very moment. It's nice to see his career has pretty much come somewhat full circle. He was in obviously NXT, obviously left. He obviously developed as a star for TNA with his character with Dixie. And then now he's returned to NXT and he had a Meltzer 5-star match this year. If that matters to you.
In the ladder match?
Yeah, in the ladder match. So it's nice to see his career has come somewhat full circle, but I hope there are bigger and better things there for him. I hope he moves up to the main roster.
But I like to call it now, I'll always call it now the Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
We're leaving, improving yourself and coming back.
Yeah.
And he's done the Drew McIntyre.
He has.
And
I hope he grows his hair back.
his curly hair?
Aye.
No, he loses all his powers.
Oh.
But I think, like, as you say, in TNA, he got to rub shoulders with so many people. He got to really develop the character.
Mm-hmm.
He was in there with Kurt Angle, Sting, Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
People like that before he got to come back, and then they eventually wrote him off in one of those feast or fires. Since he's come back, he hasn't done anything major yet, apart from that big ladder match, but he's locked in the program at the minute with Velveteen Dream,
Yep.
which is going to be great, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
You have to imagine that he's not far from the main roster already.
Yeah. I just think, and I just hope that when guys like EC3 get brought up to the main roster, I just hope that they have something for them. I think we see this time and time and time again, where guys are brought up and they just sort of, quickly fade into the background. Look at guys like Apollo Crews. Look at guys like Tyler Breeze. Look at guys like Bo Dallas, and look at guys like Curtis Axel. Although some of those guys came up with a little bit of a push, but a lot of these guys quickly fall into lower mid card.
Just another wrestler.
And that's, they lose a lot of momentum from the NXT, which is sad.
What about Fandango?
Fandango, he had his first debut match in the main roster. He got a clean one over Y2J.
At WrestleMania, no less?
And WrestleMania, that must sting a little bit, Patrick.
It does a bit. Especially when I hear Chris Jericho talk about it now, and he was never really into the idea. But I actually really like Fandango, so I'm not too fussed.
Yeah.
But afterwards was when, he got super, super popular, especially the UK crowd made him massive.
Yeah.
And they sang his theme and got it, they got it in the charts,
Yep.
didn't they? And then they ruined it by having Jerry Lawler encourage it. He disappeared for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Came back as a salsa dancer.
Yep.
Disappeared again.
He had a couple of different valets.
He had a couple of different dancers.
Yeah.
He had a real dancer first.
Yeah.
And then he had Summer Rae.
Summer Rae then. And then he had...
Rosa Mendes.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing one?
I think we're missing one.
Layla?
I'm thinking Layla.
Huh?
Is it good?
She was a dancer.
She was a dancer, man. So, he hasn't done too bad for himself. He is down in that kind of comedy role.
And the poor lad's injured now too. So
he's on the injury list. But I like Fandango.
me too. I have to say, I hope he comes back and finds something for himself. So that's 2 episodes down. I want to quickly go over a couple of people that appear in the next 2 episodes, because we're not going to go in depth on those. So I'm going to quickfire a couple of people at you.
Let's do it.
And you can tell me what you think of them. First thing comes to mind. So, Hunico.
Hunico? Who's Hunico? Sin Cara.
He's now Sin Cara.
He's Sin
He
Cara.
was the evil Sin Cara first.
Oh, he was...
And now he's the good Sin Cara.
He's the black Sin Cara.
Sin Cara Negro.
Yeah. Did he used to come out on a bike?
Hunico actually did come out with a bike.
Yes.
They did.
I like them.
For a while they were Mexican street gangster type guys.
Well, quick fire. I like him as Sin Cara. I like that he's a bit heavier now. I think he looked really good in the Greatest Royal Rumble. And since he's had a couple good matches with Andres Almas, and he's kind of transitioning in a bit of a comedy role. But I like Sin Cara. I do. I like him.
I like the Lucha Dragons. Sofia Cortez faces Paige in the next episode. You might know her as Eva Les.
Oh, from Lucha Underground.
Yeah, you have a strong feeling about Evil S?
I like she was the trios champion in season 1. Evil is the baddest bitch in the room. I would like to see her get another opportunity in WWE. I mean, I know she's tied to Lucha Underground. Every year we don't know if there's going to be another season. As to the best of my knowledge, she's not in Japan or she's not in TNA or another promotion. So I think she deserves to be on TV.
Nice. Cassius Ohno.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I like his basketball jerseys.
That's cool. I do like that.
I don't like he keeps beating me in the game. I don't like him.
That always makes you hate someone, doesn't it?
Does.
I'm going to give you another name. Jake Carter appears in the next episode. Vader's son.
Oh.
He barely wins any matches in NXT and gets released without having accomplished anything. I don't know anything about him besides the fact that apparently he's writing a book. Or was writing a book with his dad before he died.
Yeah.
Big E.
Big E, give me 5. I liked when he started off and he had a he pinned his opponents for a 5 count. I like that. I wish he brought that to the main roster.
Love me some Big E.
I liked his run as IC champion, and he had a feud with Rusev. Rusev, who didn't wear boots at the time. That was a rap.
Barefoot Rusev. I don't like any barefoot wrestlers. We'll mention that some other time.
Yeah, they both lost their surname. The surname curse.
No Langston.
No Langston.
Big E, one of my favourite moments was punching AJ Lee in the tit. You remember that? By accident. But obviously we know where he ended up in the New Day.
Yeah.
Has to be maybe one of the breakouts from it. They all can go somewhere.
They all can go somewhere. I think Big E, future world champion.
Has to be. Quickly, one of his partners, Xavier Woods.
Xavier. I'm not as much as a big fan as Xavier. I like the New Day as a package, although I feel it's getting a little bit tiresome. I would like to see them go separate ways. Not turn on each other, not break up. I would like to see how they would survive on their own.
I like him. I like Xavier Woods. I like all the New Day.
I like the time he dressed up as Rufio from Hook. That was good.
He's on his Final Fantasy cosplays. There's always people would maybe refer to him as the weak link in the group, but I don't know. I think he's got his own. They really all could go off and do their own thing.
He's had some good standout moments when they had the feud with the Wyatts, and he was like scared of Bray Wyatt, and he was trying to overcome it. Like that was really good.
That was good. A friend of his, Paige.
Per Paige, she had her career ended a lot earlier than what it should have been.
Very, very early.
Very, very early. She's had a lot of hardship, in her life and her relationships and her private material have all been shared around the internet, and I can only imagine how hard that might be. But Paige, as a wrestler, I really liked her. I really like her music. I like her ring work, and she, we hear her say it on Raw or SmackDown every week, but she did help change women's wrestling. Yeah,
we're just a day removed, as recording, of the anniversary of her big match with Emma that people say started the women's revolution.
Yeah.
Which Emma maybe doesn't get enough credit for.
I don't think so.
You prefer Bubble Emma or Serious Emma?
I really like Serious Emma. Emma versus Asuka, NXT London. Emma with the sunglasses and Dana Brooke as her manager.
I love Emma.
That was a good version of Emma.
And on Paige, I really like her too. Really sad that her career was cut short, especially by something as innocuous as a kick from behind.
Well, again,
But that just goes to show how bad shape her neck was in, maybe.
Yeah, and it's just as our previous conversation, if they banned every move that injured someone,
we'd still be in the 70s.
Yeah, there would be no wrestling.
One last person now we want to talk about, Corey Graves.
Corey Graves,
the new voice of the WWE.
I've kind of have a love-hate relationship with Corey Graves. As a commentator, I really loved him. I really did like him, and now I'm starting to sour on him. Sad his career got ended on him. Was it concussion?
I think so.
Multiple concussions.
Concussion issues.
And then maybe there's some hope from, like we just seen Daniel Bryan come back from concussion issues, so maybe he holds out hope, maybe not. Maybe he's very comfortable in his new role as co-voice of the WWE. What do you think of Corey?
I like him. I think that he's the first commentator in years that's been sort of savvy with pop culture and stuff.
Yeah.
Mauro Ranallo is as well, but he's a completely different kind of commentator. But I think Corey Graves peppers in like these references to stuff that sort of like break the fourth wall and whatever, and I just like that. I like how he goes gaga for Alexa Bliss and certain other people. Mandy Rose,
Yeah.
I think his obsession with Mandy Rose is hilarious. I like him as the voice of WWE. I think he's a breath of fresh air compared to Michael Cole.
Yeah.
A couple of points now, just to end the show on. Comparing the failed gimmicks, moving from NXT to WWE, is it worth it? You're a wrestler in NXT with a gimmick that's over as Rover, as you like to say, and you're given the choice. Do you move up? Do you stay in NXT?
Money talks, Patrick. We all have balls to pay. We all sort of would love to be famous as well. And you gotta say, the NXT audience absolutely adore everything that the wrestlers do in the ring. Everyone respects what the NXT superstars, or I'm going to call them wrestlers, do. And it's everyone's dream, I imagine. They will one day be in the ring on Raw or WrestleMania.
I think people forget that obviously people that get into the business are fans as well.
Yeah.
And so they want to be able to say, I'm on Raw,
Yep.
I'm on SmackDown, I'm on WrestleMania.
Definitely, and but you're right. Like we've seen, as we have discussed, so many superstars have come up, and they've almost been demoted.
It must be frustrating being on the main roster and having, as I imagine, I mean, I'm not talking from experience or anything, I don't know, I'm guessing, but it looks like their hands are tied in what they can do a lot. And I'm sure a lot of them could go out and put on the quality of match that an NXT TakeOver does if they wanted.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're not allowed.
Yeah. I think you're onto something.
Do more of them do better without NXT or with a limited run in NXT, do you think? I'm thinking Braun Strowman got to skip NXT.
Yeah.
And has done remarkably well since. What do you think?
I think the stars come through the NXT system. They come to the main roster and they're established somewhat, and they've already got an existing fan base, and that's important. Who has come up without going through the NXT system?
I think of Braun mainly, and I think of, you can't really count Elias, I guess, because he was in NXT for a while, but he wasn't there for long.
He wasn't there for long.
And I think it was a very good idea to let AJ Styles skip NXT.
Absolutely. It is a
There's not many
system.
more.
And and when you look at the main roster now as a whole, almost everyone, there's maybe a few exceptions, almost everyone has come through the NXT.
Or at least been there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Between these first episodes that we looked at and NXT now, what's changed? Or how do you see things now compared to then?
I think the Full Sail audience definitely helped the buzz about NXT at the start. Obviously the match quality definitely lent itself to this, but I think the buzz that they generated, the energy they generated in that small arena, definitely has put a mark on NXT.
I remember over time sort of starting to hear slowly buzz. It was mostly about the characters, not the matches. And then the matches started to get better and better to the point where takeovers are absolutely must-watch TV.
Yeah.
NXT every week for me, anyway, is must-watch TV.
Yeah.
And I would argue that maybe it's the best weekly show that WWE put on.
I think, I'm enjoying SmackDown at the moment. NXT is always pretty decent, pretty good. But definitely those takeover specials. And you know what? If you only watch wrestling 5 times a year, I would suggest that people watch the 5 NXT takeover specials. It's the best wrestling you're going to see from WWE anyway.
So NXT, overall, you have to say was a good gamble and a successful venture.
Absolutely. Can't say anything better than that, Patrick. NXT
was the future. It is the present. And still is the future. Future presence. Back to the future.
NXT is good. Good shout.
NXT is good. So that was it. That was our second episode on NXT. A bit of a ramble, but a bit of a retrospective nonetheless.
It's nice to look back.
If you like that, check out our first episode on Capital Carnage 1998, and our next episode is coming down the line. So if you want to find us, Mickey, where can you get us?
You can like or follow or subscribe to us on Twitter. It's at LOG Podcast. On Facebook and on Instagram, if you search Legion of Gloom Podcast, there you can keep up to date with what we're getting up to. And we've got some nice graphics if you want to check
and
us
the
out.
best place to listen to us at the minute is YouTube, until we find out a better alternative that doesn't cost us a fortune.
Yeah. If you have any advice for a beginner podcasters, leave us a comment down below. And if you like what we talked about, or if you have any opinions of NXT, just house up with a comment. It'd be much appreciated.
See you next time.
Bye.
Richie Steamboat, where are you?